Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into today's video. It's Monday, which can mean only one thing. Yes, it's Europe Day on gasweatherbeats.com. Every Monday, we look at weather for the week ahead across the European continent. Now, before I get on with the video, I just want to talk about the advertising. There'll usually be a video ad over AMI Weather Videos at gasweatherbeats.com. Do please play those video ads because you'll be supporting gasweatherbeats.com by doing that. The other thing I want to mention is the website where the charts are coming from. It's a fantastic German website, Untitled. You can find that on my links page. So this is the situation today across Europe. We've got this big area of low pressure up over Iceland. That's really driving the weather for the west of Europe. It's unsettled across Britain, Ireland and into parts of western Scandinavia as well. But really high pressure is dominating the bulk of the continent through many of these eastern and central and southern parts of the continent. High pressure firmly in control. Low pressure is just dominating up to the northwest. Upper air temperatures showing that it's turning a bit cooler through Britain Island. The 5 Celsius isotherm there is coming in off the Atlantic, bringing cooler weather through Britain Island, where it has been very warm. Cool as well across the central and northern parts of Scandinavia, so the northern parts of Norway, Sweden and Finland, all rather on the cool side, and that extends down in towards western Russia as well. The southern parts of Scandinavia, we've got some quite warm air there, and then that really sets up the rest of the continent, because through the central parts of the continent, out in towards the west and the southwest, through the Mediterranean and into the southeast and up into the east. It is a very warm scene across the bulk of the continent, and not only warm, it's a very dry scene as well for the bulk of the continent. Also, we've got some rain coming down across Britain and Ireland, bringing about that change to cooler weather. We've also got some rain approaching in towards Norway, but really the bulk of the continent, look, it's largely dry, so dry weather extending through much of Spain and Portugal, dry weather extending through much of France, in towards the Low Countries, a few showers perhaps around Denmark and northern Germany, but really the bulk of Germany is dry, and then that dry weather extending into many of these eastern and southeastern countries. Well, there could be a few showers cracking off over southern parts of Italy, but really it's a very dry scene across the bulk of Europe today. Also very warm. We've got a lot of hot air extending up from the Mediterranean. It's hot through the Mediterranean still, despite the fact we're into the latter part of the summer now. It's still very hot through the Mediterranean. That heat does extend up through much of France, into Germany, the Low Countries, through into Poland as well, and then up into Denmark and southern parts of Scandinavia, and then back in towards the east and the southeast. Very high temperatures up to high 20s, low 30s, around the 90 Fahrenheit mark across some of these central parts of the continent. So very warm, if not hot still, across the bulk of Europe today. But up to the northwest is turning cooler. Britain and Ireland turning much, much cooler, and you can't see it, but that cool weather is extending through much of Norway as well. Now, as we go into the middle of the week, we're finding that high pressure being forced back towards the southwest a little bit, so it's being forced down towards the Bay of Biscay and off the coast of France, Spain and Portugal, and we're running in now low pressure off the Atlantic, and we're taking an active cold front in across much of the continent, bringing about a sharp change. So low pressure is dominating up to the north and to the northwest. High pressure still more or less in control through the Mediterranean, keeping it very warm. But as I say, we're bringing an active cold front in across the continent from the Atlantic, from Britain Island in towards central parts of Europe, and that's bringing about a marked change. You can see this on the upper air temperatures, the warmth, the heat that we have with the central part of the continent on Monday. That is pushed now into the eastern part of the continent. So we can see that heat has been pushed into the eastern part of the continent. It's warmed up into western Russia as well. But notice much cooler areas now following along behind. So much of Germany has turned cool. In fact, all of Germany has turned cool. Much of France cool as well. That cool weather extending up through the bulk of the Scandinavia, and the British Isles and much of Ireland are also very cool as well. The heat, the high upper air temperatures through the Mediterranean. So that is signalling a very active cold front, bringing about a marked temperature change. You expect to see heavy rain on that cold front, maybe thunderstorms, and that's exactly what we've got. There's the cold front there, stretching through those alpine regions up in towards parts of Germany, in towards Austria as well, up in towards Poland, yes, and then back up in towards those northeastern countries and through into central and northern parts of Scandinavia. That's where the cold front is through the middle of the week, taking that heavy rain, possibility of thunderstorms eastwards, and also bringing about that marked temperature drop, and of course forcing the heat ahead of it into the eastern part of Europe, and that'll eventually be pushed away towards Black Sea area by the time we get through to the end of the week. But showery weather follows along behind that cold front, so showery through much of France, Germany, the Low Countries, Denmark, southern parts of Scandinavia, back into Britain Island as well. It's a largely dry scene, however, through much of the Mediterranean. This is the temperatures for the middle of the week, and we can see a big drop in temperatures taking place there. We've lost those temperatures into the high 20s, low 30s across many central parts of the continent. We're now just down into the teens. There's the heat in the east being pushed away to the east by that cold front. Behind the cold front, you really do notice the difference. It does feel much more autumnal, and of course that cool weather then extends through Britain Island into Scandinavia, down into France. Still a hot sea though through the Mediterranean and in this southeastern part of the continent. So quite a marked change taking place this week across Europe. Now, as we go into the end of the week and the weekend, we've really got a north-south split setting up here. Low pressure is still dominating the scene through much of Scandinavia. High pressure, though, is dominating down to the south, and we're bringing the jet stream in off the Atlantic and running it quite well into Europe. So having a quick look at the jet stream, there is the jet stream running from Canada through the Atlantic, through the British Isles and Ireland as well, and then extending through the Low Countries, Denmark, Germany, Poland, and then on into the eastern part of Europe. So a very strong jet stream there, extending into Europe off the Atlantic. So a north-south split, as I say. Much of the north is cool, very cool here across Scandinavia, very cool through many northern parts of British Isles at least, and that cool weather extending down into southern parts of British Isles and into Ireland as well at times. And then the cool air extends through much of the central part of Europe as well. But the heat is in the south, it's through Spain, Portugal, much of central southern France, and then through the Mediterranean to the southeastern part is still quite hot. And also got tightly packed isobars here, so it will be very windy, particularly in the west and the northwest, with gales possible in some places. So it's unsettled in the north, a lot of rain and showers here, particularly centred around Scandinavia, Denmark, into northern parts of Germany, back in towards the British Isles, particularly the north of the British Isles will be unsettled. Scotland can expect quite a bit of rain through the middle and latter part of the week, always drier to the south, but really the central southern parts of the continent actually largely dry, with a good deal of fine weather under that ridge of high pressure south of that strong jet stream, until you come to the southeastern part, and then we pick up a lot of heavy showers and thunderstorms, possibly around southern parts of Italy, and particularly here centred through the Adriatic in towards parts of Greece perhaps as well. Some heavy storms cracking off there at the end of the week. Temperatures, a bit of a north-south split. It's cool through much of the north, but it's very warm still in the south, particularly through the Mediterranean. But certainly many of these central and northern parts of Europe rather on the cool side. So quite a dramatic change taking place across the continent this week. We start off very warm across much of the continent, hot in fact through much of the continent, but it's already changing over the British Isles today and over Ireland. It's turning more autumnal. That autumnal weather will spread across much of the continent through the week on an active cold front, bringing heavy rain, risk of storms, and then we turn much more unsettled and windier as we go through into the latter part of the week for northern parts of the continent, I should say, but central southern areas still seeing the high pressure influence carrying on, bringing a good deal of fine weather, but temperatures not as hot away from the Mediterranean. That's how it's looking across Europe this week. Thanks for watching the video, and bye for now. Come back next week. That's it for now.